Chapter 2.4, Work Backward. Now once again, this is one of these word problem type of chapters. So we're going to recall some of the steps that we need to take when we're dealing with word problems. Now the first thing you want to do is always identify the kind of information that they give you in the question. It's a good idea to read the question several times over so that you understand what is given to you in the problem, but also then you can determine what kind of information that they're asking you to determine or calculate. It's also a good idea to find out if they want you to calculate an exact or estimated answer, because then you can determine a strategy to use that helps you find whether it's an exact or estimated value. Now sometimes the kind of questions that you're given are a little bit different in the sense that you're given a result and you actually need to work backward to help find the information that would give you that particular result. So the kind of examples that we're going to see today in this chapter are ones where you need to work backwards through the problem to come up with an answer that would give you the particular result that is given to you in the problem. So the first example looks like so. So the first example says you need to arrive for a job interview at 1:15 p.m. You would like to finish a 1-hour lunch date with a friend 30 minutes before your interview, since it takes about a half hour to get from the restaurant to your employer's office. Now the restaurant is located 25 minutes from your house, and it takes you 45 minutes to get ready to leave in the morning. So what is the latest time that you can wake up? Now first of all, before you start this problem, I just want to make sure you label your steps as you go through the problem in a nice organized fashion so that it will help you display your answer in your work. Okay, so how I organized my work was as follows. I first of all set up a table for myself, identifying the information that they give you in the question, and then another column for the calculations, which is really the times that are given within the question. So the time I'm going to start with is of course the interview time, which was at 1:15. So from there I'm going to work backwards through the information that they give you in the question. So I'm just scrolling back up to the question itself. It says you would like to finish a 1-hour lunch date with a friend 30 minutes before the interview time. So the lunch would be finished then 30 minutes before the interview time, which therefore brings it back to 12:45, which means then lunch would start 1 hour before that. So backtracking the clock brings me to 11:45 a.m. Now the restaurant is 25 minutes from your house, so you're going to leave the house then 25 minutes before 11:45, which brings you to 11:20. And it takes 45 minutes to get ready. It's because, you like to do your hair and your makeup and so on. So, which brings you back 45 minutes before 11:20, which brings you to a wake-up time of 10:35. Hopefully you all got something similar to this. Now, I'm sure you all have bank accounts, so in the second question, what I have here is an example of a bank statement. So in the question it says that Ernie made the following transactions on his bank account during the current month. At the end of the month, his balance was $248.23. So it wants you to work backward to determine his balance at the beginning of the month. So here at the bottom of the statement, it shows $248.23. Now there are a series of different types of transactions that occurred in the month. For example, a deposit, a check, and a withdrawal. So it wants you to go and calculate then what the starting balance at the beginning of the month was after or before all these transactions. So I'm going to take out my handy dandy calculator here. I'm just going to leave that on top of my screen here. And I'm going to start off with $248.23. That's what's sitting in the bank account at the end of the month. Now, there was a deposit that was made for $80. So prior to that deposit, there was actually then less money sitting in the account. So therefore, with the $80, I'm going to subtract that from my final balance. That means that there was $168.23 sitting in the account before I made that deposit. So $168.23 was in there. And of course, after I made the deposit, there must have been more money, so that's where the $248.23 came from. Now, prior to that, there was a check for $20.66 that was made. A check is really like a withdrawal. So this time, I'm going to add $20.66, which brings me to $188.89. And that's because prior to the check being made, there was actually more money sitting in the account. So of course, after the check was written, then the amount should decrease. So therefore, there was $188.89 before that check was withdrawn. Now, prior to that, there was also another withdrawal of $15. So similar to the check, I'm going to add again. This time it's $15. That brings me to $203.89. And voila, that was what I started off with at the beginning of the month. So if we just double check our answer, all we have to do is think this way. If we started off then with $203.89, I subtract this $15, it brings me then to the $188.89 balance. I then withdraw another $20.66, which means I subtract that amount, brings me to $168.23. And then I make a deposit of $80, which means I add $80, then brings me to $248.23. So this is a good example to get you to understand how bank statements work, and it's probably a good idea because that way you can always check your bank statements, your own personal ones, so that you ensure that the bank is honest with the numbers that they're giving you. So hopefully these two examples have helped you to learn how to work backwards through problems, and that concludes this chapter.